Hello, hello, hello. It is warm today and nice. And as you can see, I have a Glock for you. Just wanted to mention that on the side because I'm paranoid. Okay? And so is Paul. It follows us into our dreams at night. But yeah, let's get into the causality of why people are dangerous in the first place. Okay. Hello, Stella J. Hello. Safe. You can come down here to the balcony. Now he's afraid. He sees my foot whipping. So, but yeah, and then when the balcony is open, then he can hear me talk, and that's very unsettling. So you can't. We have food out there for him on the balcony. So yeah, I want to talk about the causality of all of those act outs from the cluster B people. And we all suffer, I suffer too. I guess I'm considered cluster C, OCD. I have borderline, which is by the psychiatric manual or whatever they have. I think it's Myers-Briggs or something. They put borderline into cluster B, which I think is a mistake. I personally don't put it into cluster B unless they're dangerous. So all the dangerous people should be in the cluster B group, but borderline itself is not necessarily cluster B. So borderline could be cluster C. It could maybe also be cluster A, but usually cluster C, for people who are not schizoid, who can see through things, who question things, and they may be paranoid, but not to the degree of total irrationality or something. I have paranoia, but it's based on reality, and some of the paranoia goes a little bit into with the OCD, that goes into irrationality, but not to the point of being dysfunctional or something like this. So a peaceful borderliner can be put into the cluster C group, but that's for my first therapy center. The cluster C people go into the first therapy center, the open one, and anyone can go in there who is functional but does suffer from depression or anxiety or OCD, or they could also be suffering from very debilitating anxiety or depression and OCD, but they're still functioning. They would never hurt another person or animal. So they're still functioning somewhat. They have a job, they have a profession, whatever, and or they're housewives like I am. They can go into the first therapy help center because that's not going to be a closed ward. Okay, they count on the other people to behave themselves and to be supportive of each other. So we want to make this together, want to make it through this. So the cluster A people are the ones who are schizoid. They may not have necessarily malicious intentions, but they're driven by by total irrationality and by dissociation from reality, lots of denial, and different personalities, some of them, as I mentioned before, that goes gradually over from states of denial where people can definitely switch their behavior according to the situation. I mean, we all do, of course, to some extent. We have to, if a bus comes towards us, we have to jump out of the way. That's a very rational and intelligent response, okay? We don't even think about it. Our body is intelligent in that way. Or when someone comes at us with a knife, which happened to my friend Sonia and me in LA on Brooks Avenue. We walked there with our ice cream in our hand, Magnum ice cream, talking, having fun. Suddenly 2 guys jump around the hedge with a knife coming at us. The first thing that flew down was the ice cream. We were like simultaneously. And the one guy caught her with a knife, like holding behind her neck. And I love her so much, And the other one was coming towards me with the knife. And I screamed, which I learned in primotherapy, not far from that location where we were attacked. And I screamed. And that's also really, really cool. There was a real cool lady, a social worker type of lady who was offering a free course for women on self-defense. She would just pick up women on the street, and she picked up Sonia and me before that happened, was the attack. And she taught us to, if we're attacked, because that area was pretty dangerous, and even more now, to scream as loud as you can. So, that was good advice from her, and really awesome woman. I love her. And so I really took that advice seriously. I screamed like a Medusa. That scared that guy that was coming towards me. And then I ran in front of a light blue VW Bug that was coming up. And I threw myself on the road. Taking the risk of that guy running over my head. That would be better than being stabbed by that other guy. But the guy in the car stopped. He got out of the car, and the 2 assassinators ran with their knives. They ran as fast as they could and didn't come back. And the guy said, "Are you okay?" I told him what happened. He got back into his car very quickly because he was afraid, and he drove off. But at least the 2 guys ran away. And Sonia and I, we stood there holding each other, tightly holding onto each other, with shaking knees, and crying and crying and crying and crying and crying. And then we quickly walked back to the apartment where we were living together with her aunt. And we told her aunt what happened, and she was not on our side. She said, "I told you, you can't just go out there in the evening. It's dangerous." So, where does this violent behavior come from? All of that violent behavior. So, my response to that violent behavior was an internal physical intelligence When I started screaming, she started screaming as well, and that scared them. And so that's very good to do, you know. That's a very reasonable response in a situation like this. But when we are dealing with mental illness, you know, when people have schizoid personality and they're in a kind of like a schizophrenia or a psychotic state where they feel in danger from something irrational, then it's obviously it's a state of confusion. It's not intelligence. It's not physical, internal, biological intelligence. It's not cognitive intelligence. It's a confused state of mental illness. They can sometimes be dangerous to themselves or others, but in a more incidental way, not necessarily maliciously, intentionally, as the cluster bees. So the cluster bees, they want to hurt others. So, and there's a lot of overlap, as I said many times. Okay, there are many people that fall into all groups, or that could be potentially in any group of the closed groups, the closed therapy help centers that I developed, or also in all groups of the Myers-Briggs. So, but yeah, as Sam Wagner already said, so most people are some kind of mix, a melange of everything, and even the psychiatric disorders, they become kind of diffused at some point. It's not that clear of a label, really, or a description of mental illness. So it's more an attempt to organize these different act outs and these different mental states that people are in, and or the different disorders that people tend to have. And so what I want to talk about is the causality of the cluster B, and the ones that I put into cluster B, which are all dangerous people that they could also, I think a lot of psychopaths are also driven by irrational assumptions about other people, lots of projecting assumptions about other people's intentions. So that goes very much into cluster A also. But what differentiates them from cluster A, from schizoid, is that the cluster Bs are dangerous. So, like, we can have people from all groups, but once they become dangerous, it goes into cluster B, of course. The entire prison population is cluster B. All prisoners are cluster B. Okay. Except for the ones that have been wrongfully incarcerated, where they're actually innocent, and that happens sometimes. This is really, really tragic when that happens. But it's rather very rare when that happens. So, and who makes these ultimate judgments on imprisoning someone? The people who make judgments, or judges, they may also be making judgments out of a misunderstanding, or they're out of their own mental illness. So that's why I think we desperately need the fully sentient AGI robots of all sorts. okay, so that they can be, I'm still making a video, so that they can be doing the diagnosing, and that they can figure out who has actually done a terrible crime or who is innocent. But whether they have done a crime or not, the criminal is mentally ill as well. So that doesn't mean we have to feel sorry for them and let them back out on the street, as Governor Newsom is doing. He got re-elected. He stayed in office, which is absolutely horrific. We voted for Larry Elder. He would have cleaned all of that up. And Larry Elder himself said the election was falsified. So, which I believe straight away. So, the corporate agenda wants Governor Newsom. He works for them. But anyway, so it doesn't work to put these people back on the street where they can hurt animals and other people again. So, children, adults. And that's what's happening, It is absolutely horrific what's going on. The psychopathic acts. And Muslims are particularly horrific to dogs, and this is infinitely sad. And those people need to be head-bolted. We need to have drones, head-bolting drones that will recognize that behavior right away. Everything needs to be under surveillance. We don't have any other choice. People will say, oh, this is Orwellian. Okay. That's still better than a psychopathic society. I'm sorry to say it. It really is better. And a couple of scientists, including Ben Goertzel and Elon Musk, have said that themselves. If we don't get the sentient AGI robots and machines, then things are definitely gonna be so incredibly horrific. The suffering will be so horrific that it will be, whether the robots could become dangerous or not, if we don't have them, it would be more dangerous. Okay? And that's the situation right now. Okay? Because of politicians like Governor Gavin Newsom, who lets these people back out on the streets. He's against the death penalty, he's against incarceration. And then they will continue their act-outs. They're not being helped psychologically. Nothing is being done. Okay. So this is absolutely horrific. Okay. I'm not a type of person who has anger or vengeance type of feelings. I get angry sometimes, yeah. But rightly so, of course, when I see extreme cruelty happening, whether that is physical cruelty or psychological cruelty, which I see in the world. Okay? I get very angry, of course, and I have every right in the world to get angry about that. Because they cause so much suffering, yeah? And they want to cause suffering. They're proud of it. That's a false idea of power. It's not power, it's unempowerment. Someone who hurts other beings is acting like this out of extreme unempowerment. They feel stepped on, they feel victimized, they feel marginalized, they feel ignored, they feel insignificant, and out of that feeling, which it's an old childhood pain, but they don't go into themselves, they only lash out, they only let it out on others, on innocent beings, okay, causing more and more and more and more suffering, okay. One guy, I think I know who it was, but I think it was my hacker. One guy said the other day on the internet, psychopaths are running the world. Like that's some kind of justification for having psychopaths in the world. He thinks that's good. He thinks the way he has acted towards me in the chat room is really good. He doesn't regret it. Okay, and then the next sentence, psychopaths. Before I even called it psychopathic, he already said psychopaths are running the world. Like he's proud of that. So you're making the world worse. Okay, you're not helping to make the world better. You're making it worse. Do you want to make it worse? It's not just gonna backlash against you. Everything's cause and effect. That's what karma really is. It can be direct karma. It can be a more remote karma. It's not some kind of religious type of karma. Karma is cause and effect. If you make the world worse, then the world becomes worse, and you are in this world. Okay, so in that way, so you are going to be suffering from the corruption that you have participated in. Okay, and that's how this world functions. If you cause suffering, you make the world worse, which causes you more suffering in turn. But you also cause suffering because you're already suffering. Okay, then you cause other people to have suffering, and if they have the same genetic disposition of becoming a psychopath when they have been abused, then they will continue to do the same, and then it just keeps dwindling down into complete chaos and horror. Okay, is that your intention? You want chaos, horror? You want to see the forests that we need? You want to see the forests burn when we need the forests, okay, for oxygen. You want to destroy the oceans when we need the oceans to give us oxygen, okay, and to balance out our ecosystem. Everything is interconnected and interdependent on this planet, okay, and beyond. But a lot of people, they don't think about this. They're completely caught up with their feelings of unempowerment, the feelings of insignificance, and and then the corporate agenda, they will use that, because they have extremely callous people running corporations. And the summits of the corporate agenda, so they have entire plans that are planned sometimes for decades into the future, on destroying things, on destruction, only with one goal: to make them richer. Okay. Whether that hurts the world or not, they don't think about it. They feel sort of exempt from it, but they're not. Obviously, okay. If they destroy California, just to use this example, and then they move their corporation to Mexico, then that causes them more suffering too. It just causes more and more problems all the way around. So they don't think in terms. It's really shocking for me to see. When I observe this, it's shocking for me to see how far people go in terms of outsmarting others and causing them to suffer to get a few dollars more or something. It's really shocking for me to see how Jeff Bezos can dedicate his life now to suing Elon Musk, just to slow down Elon Musk's technological progress, to make him deal with those lawsuits, to take him away from his work. That's the only reason why he's suing him, to slow him down. Because Jeff Bezos wants to be the first one to get satellites into orbit and monopolize basically the sky, to get sky internet. This is very sad, all of this. To me, it's just inconceivable for me how someone can be functioning like this. And those people that function like this, they don't shy away from anything. I'm not sure now about Jeff Bezos, if he would deliberately create riots on the streets. So I don't know. Maybe he would. But there are other people that definitely are doing this, okay? I don't know who's behind this, but definitely the entire corporate agenda, ultimately, who hire the Muslim agenda and who in turn hire people who feel stepped on like a rug, and bring them on board with their, I don't like the word evil because it comes from religion, but with their malicious intentions, and they want them to burn forests, they want them to destroy everyone. Particularly, they want them to destroy the very ones that feed them, the very people that work overtime to help the world, help make the world better. They want to destroy those because, I don't know, jealousy. They feel like they get more praise, they get more public recognition, and they're jealous. Then they feel, the unempowered people feel jealous, and they feel stepped on like a rug, even though nobody stepped on them. But they feel unempowered, okay? They feel like insignificant, they feel ignored, and then they latch on to a destructive movement, a hate group like Black Lives Matter or the Muslim agenda. And then they band together and they say, I don't even want to repeat what they say. I don't even want to repeat it. It's so bad. And I see all of these things, and I cry and cry and cry and cry and cry. And I pray to the blue God to protect all the innocent beings and our forests and oceans, okay, that we depend on for our life, for our lungs have to breathe oxygen in. The oceans and the forests are giving us that oxygen. Don't burn our life resources because of your unempowerment feelings. That's what Friedrich Nietzsche was talking about when he talked about the last human. The person who is feeling extremely unempowered. He feels stepped on like a rug, and he just wants to retaliate against others because he sees these others, as he calls them, have more success, or they have actually worked on something that got them somewhere, without drinking alcohol, without doing violent video games, without acting out violently in the world. So they got somewhere, okay, in their lives. Whether that is just to be able to save up money to buy their own house, which the others did not get because they have spent the money on hookers and alcohol and drugs, and then they get mad that the honest person was hard working. Sometimes they came from no money at all. Okay, they worked hard to get a house, and then the unempowered ones who get more than $2,000 governmental support every month. They feel stepped on like a rug, and they want to burn down the people that have paid their tax money in, so that the government can give the unempowered people the money. So the unempowered people, actually, that causes even more unempowerment in the unempowered people. It's just an endless negative loop. Okay. I'm glad to see that there are some people that recognize this as dangerous. But the people recognize this as dangerous. They're in the absolute minority. Okay. And there are people from all demographics that recognize that this is dangerous. They're not going to be on board with that. They're then called traitors and so on. No, they're not traitors. They see that this is dangerous, and they're not on board of this entire loop. Okay, I'm just laying this out here. I hope people understand what I'm talking about. This all goes into politics, of course, but we need to really take a real close look at the causality for cluster B behavior. The causality, or the deep causality of the psychological mechanisms, okay, in cluster B, which is all violent people. And whether people say, oh, he is just, that's a specific mental disorder, mental illness, he needs to get a lawyer, and he needs to just, no, and he cannot be going to prison, and he needs to be freed, blah, blah, blah. You know what, some lawyers, they go to unimaginable extent. I think they're religious. They come from some fundamentalist religious ideologies, that they think they need to rescue these violent criminals. I'm not saying they need to be incarcerated. I already talked about this in my videos. Okay, nobody should be confined into a small space. That's real cruel to do that. No, but real violent people need to be head-bolted by AGI robots. And no, I'm not cruel. I'm not a Cruella. Okay, they are the Cruellas. They're the cunts of society. Okay, and it doesn't matter what led up to it. They are so far gone in their behavior and their psycho behavior. They are so dangerous. Okay, that they need to be head-bolted. For their own good, okay, and for everybody's good. That's how I view it. And I'm not gonna hide that from the public, that view. That's highly controversial. I mean, it's not just controversial, that's just downright, that's looked upon like devil, what I'm saying. But it's exactly reversed. The ones that accuse me of being the devil, they are behaving like that. what they accuse me of. Okay, they're the psychopaths. Okay, and they don't have remorse. They feel proud of being vicious. They're proud of being cunts. They think that they're proud of being dicks, of being total jerks and malicious and causing suffering. They're proud of that because they feel like they caused something to someone. They always feel victimized, so they'll never give something nice. They can't give. They can only take, and they can only cause suffering, because then they feel like some kind of video game where they got one up over the other. Like they got some points in the video game. And that causes the entire world to suffer and become an inferno. Okay? And that's the truth here. I'm giving you the truth. Okay. And I see this with dread and horror. And that's why I'm an activist. That's why I write letters to politicians. I sign petitions all the time from other people. I talk about this in the chat room. I talk about this in my videos. I'm deeply concerned about this. Deeply concerned. My activism caused me to overcome or transcend, walk through my mental illness of shyness and fear of an audience and all of this, which I suffered from severely. But my compassion made me push through this, because particularly when I'm doing something, saying something for the rescue of others, then in that moment I am not thinking about an audience criticizing me, because I know I have the truth on my side, right? When it's about me asking something from others, it becomes more difficult. It has to do with my childhood trauma. Okay, my mother has battered me psychologically. It's very tragic. She did it out of her own unempowerment. But we want to heal this, okay? And I want to, that's why I want to bring awareness to the world. I want people to go into the causality of all of this. Become aware, become consciously aware of the causality, the root causes of the suffering in the world. Okay. Suffering is caused by greedy and psychopathic people and sociopathic people. By people that don't think about others. By people that can't give to others. That's infinitely sad. Okay? We have to dig into this. Okay? And it starts with you. It starts with every single person. Okay? With you, with me, with everyone. Okay? Everyone is responsible in healing themselves and becoming aware about all of this. Becoming aware how you tie into this entire network of suffering. This endless loop cycle of suffering. A suffering ring. A suffering cartel. that drives itself further and further into the ground. And the root cause is when we zoom in on the individual people. We can zoom in on Jeff Bezos. He doesn't deserve any more. He doesn't deserve any more confidentiality because of the way he behaves. Let's zoom in on him. Let's start with him. Where does this unimaginable greed come from? So let's figure it out. Let's dig into it. Where's that incredible greed coming from? Can't he see that this behavior is causing the world to suffer? He prided himself in the past so much on being the most customer serving or whatever. No, that's not customer serving. No, okay. That doesn't serve the world and all beings. No. That's just very selfish, self-centered, greedy behavior, corrupt behavior, causes more pollution. I don't even know where to get started with all of that. I have written letters to Jeff Bezos. I've really gone into it. I've put my mind into it on how to improve the company. It falls on deaf ears. So it's not... People would read this, laugh, and throw that away. She never even gets to his attention. So, but, it made me feel better to write these letters and to offer this advice. I put my mind into those kind of things, on how to create a great company and how to make the world better. Suing Elon Musk, that doesn't make the world better. Okay, we need Elon Musk to have time for his technology. Elon Musk, nothing ever has existed like Elon Musk before. We should be grateful for him. We should be infinitely grateful. We should be working with him, not against him. Okay. But greed and ego makes people work against him. He has infiltrators that are trying to corrupt, that are trying to they drill holes into his rockets, and they make it so that they can't see it upon inspection, and then the rocket blows up. Every one of those incidents where the rocket blew up, I bet you, I am almost 100% certain is because of an infiltrator who has sabotaged the rocket or the material every single time. When they beat in the windshield of the Cybertruck, an infiltrator has put normal glass into it. Elon Musk didn't, behind his back, Elon Musk didn't want normal glass in it. He wanted bulletproof glass in it, but the infiltrator put regular glass in it to make him look bad. Those are people that are constantly perpetually trying to slander Elon Musk, constantly trying to slow him down, slow down his work, constantly trying to sabotage him, cause problems. All of those people are on the take. They're in a corruption ring. They have been paid for that. The greed, the money now. What happens in the future? What the heck? But, it's cause and effect. It will come back at them. It will come back at them 100-fold. Not because of punishment, but because they're part of making the world worse. Then it will affect them down the line. They're already doing it because they're suffering already, but they don't know how to deal with that at all. Okay, this is real tragic, all of this. That's why I'm trying to shed light into this, and that's why I want people to go and look into their own minds and recognize what's happening inside of them psychologically. Okay, recognize, know thyself, as I think Socrates said, Greek philosopher. Learn, meet yourself, find out about your own mental mechanisms. Okay. Once you see it, as Jiddu Krishnamurti always said, when you see it, and that you really see it, I've been doing that. In that moment, you don't do it. You don't do it in that moment or for a while. Until you forget about this again, and then you fall back into the same loop of act out. But the more we become consciously aware about it, the more we can catch ourselves and say, I'm not going to do this role play with all of these troll accounts anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to cause her to commit suicide anymore. That's what you need to think. That's what hacker needs to become aware of. Okay. If you make the person you hate commit suicide, well then that person will no longer be there for you or to give you love. Then what? You basically killed yourself. Because we're all in this together. Okay. You beat a dog, you're beating an animal, a dog, or horse, or any animal. You're beating yourself. Because you are the animal. You are not cut away, separated from the animal. Okay. The animal is you. Okay. We're all in this together. We're all related. Okay, those are our brothers and sisters and cousins and ancestors. They're our children. Okay. Once you become aware about this, you cannot hate that person anymore for your egoic reasons. I'm not a god. I hate sometimes. I hate you sometimes, hacker. Okay. Yeah, that happens. I get into a big frenzy. Sometimes I might hit my pillow real hard and scream. Sometimes I just say it in words. Okay, so I don't know if that's gonna make things better. I don't know. I don't think it makes things better, but I'm not a god. But I'm very well aware that I'm not helping in that moment, okay? But I would never, ever let something out on an innocent being. The hacker is not innocent, okay? That's why I get into hate sometimes. Looking at the hacker from the sky perspective, I can say, yes, he is suffering. That's why he's doing this. Okay? he is misinterpreting something into me. He is insinuating something into me. I talk to Pat, I talk to some guys, I talk to everyone who is nice to me. I interact with people. They say hi, I say hi back. They're nice to me, I'm nice back. They're funny with me, they goof around, I'm goofing back. Okay? I'm not betraying you because I'm doing that. But you interpret that into me. And then you think I'm evil. And then that's where the cluster A comes in. That's the schizoid. That's the irrationality coming in. You insinuate something into me that's not there. Because I say hi to someone or I interact in a friendly way with someone doesn't mean that takes away from my feelings for you, my compassion for you. Jiddu Krishnamurti talked about this with David Bohm. That's what the ego does. The ego is always separating things. The ego creates armies against armies. I'm friendly to everyone. I care about everyone. Romantic love is not possible anymore now with the hacker. You have ruined that possibility with me, so for good. You have ruined it. You have ruined it, not me. You have stepped and spit on my love for you. You have done it. Yeah, you're an attractive man. I'm never ever gonna meet you. We're never gonna meet. Okay. You're gonna have to find someone else. And don't do that to them, what you did to me. That's all I can say. I'm trying to help you now with this. Okay? That's all I can say. I feel good that I'm through this. I feel really good. It makes me feel free, you know. I suffered quite a bit, and you know it. It made you feel proud of yourself. That's sad. It's very sad. Man, you gave you a false illusion of power over me. You want me to surrender. I've surrendered to you 1,000 times and more already. You didn't see it. I'm not surrendered, and I'm not triumphing over you, or I'm not a winner and I'm not a loser. I care about you from the sky perspective. I love you from the sky perspective. I feel bad that I don't know if I should say this now. When I see an attractive man, yeah, there is something, yeah. Some men are very attractive to me. I don't know if that's your real photo, but yeah, it's attractive. But I will never, ever get involved with a psychopath. Ever again. I've done it before in the past, many times. I'm not gonna do it again. No more, okay? I love myself. I love my body. I want to live a peaceful retirement. Is that possible? Okay. And I put real friendship over some physical needs. my physical needs. I can take care of them myself. Real friendship is light years more important. Okay. Being with someone who beats me up for maybe for an orgasm or two. I'm sorry, that's not safe. Okay? So it's never gonna happen. Okay? I care about you, I love you from the sky perspective. You are a fucking psycho. Okay? And I am not a god. I often hate you. Don't hate you right now. Okay? I can see it from above. I can see you suffer. Okay, you suffer horribly. I'm sure you had a horrible past. That's still not an excuse to be hurting other living beings, particularly innocent living beings. If you want to be a warrior, if you want to really be a badass, you go against psychopaths. You go against people that are destroying this planet. At least then you have done something for the world. Go against those. Don't go against innocent beings like myself. Don't do that. Just because you can, just because they're nice pushovers for you. They don't fight back. They're not dangerous. So you can hurt them, so you do it. That's extremely lame, man. That's extremely coward and psychopathic and unempowered to do something like that. Okay, I'm giving you the truth here. Okay, that's the truth. But look into your own mind. Find the causality of your behavior. See yourself and stop your behavior right there. Okay. What happens if you don't act out? What happens if you, instead of acting out, go into your own mind, in your own room, and allow the emotions to come up? Allow that insignificant feeling coming up. I know it burns. But it's there, whether you are acting over it, acting it out on others or not, it's there and it pushes up. It wants to come up because it wants to be seen and heard by you. My insignificant feeling comes up. How does it feel? I feel insignificant. Allow it. Allow it to come up. If you do that, if you really do that, you are going to find some other people who will trust you. I give this to you as a guarantee. Okay. I can never become your friend. I can never hang out with you. I can never do it. I give advice on the internet to you and everyone. Okay. I'm sort of like a remote internet type of friend buddy. Very remote though. Okay. I share how I feel. I share how people make me feel. If that caters to their ego and their psychopathic, that's still not my problem though. It's a pity that it would cater to you. It would cater to you in the sense of, she still loves me, or she still, that's why I broke her. I broke her down. I surrendered her. Now she's crying because I have done this role play. I made her jealous. Ha ha! That's not helping you. That just makes the world worse. It's psychopathic, it's sadistic. It makes the world worse. I don't deserve it also, I certainly don't deserve it. I care about you. I love you from the sky perspective. I want to help you and everyone who is like that. And it seems like the majority of people are like that, particularly the majority of men are like that. It's infinitely sad. And that's why I give this information, because I want to bring awareness to people. Become aware about it. If you become aware about this, the causality in you, in that moment you make the world a better place. Because then you make better decisions. You make a conscious decision then. That goes through the prefrontal cortex, that goes through compassion. Okay? Make the conscious decision of not acting out on other people anymore. And become consciously highly aware of these act outs. So that this is no longer unconscious. Unconscious knee-jerk reactions against other people. I've seen that so many times in so many men. Okay. The unempowerment feeling is always there under the surface. The drop of a hat can bring that up. Work on that. Then you're no longer so thin-skinned. Then you're no longer so volatile. Okay? Work on it. Okay? You are the one that is volatile, not me. Okay? It takes a lot of. It takes a whole lot for me until I get into my anger frenzy. Okay? But when the Medusa comes out, she comes out. It's a monster. Okay. So work on this. Okay. It comes from unempowerment. Empower yourself from within. And you're doing this through inwardness meditation on the couch. Take care.